Here's one of the reasons why not yet. And this is a stat that I got from Helena and Patrick, which is the person who's living with dizziness usually sees 6 to 7 providers until they find the right one. Dizziness is so ambiguous. Where do I go? The average person barely thinks of a PT for many of the things PTs can do. This is maybe not one of them. So that is, again, it comes back to education and communications and marketing, is like positioning yourself as the right provider who can get me to the right solution. Scott is dropping in the comment. Same kind of idea would work for MSK ultrasound. It's funny that he says that, Scott, we're on the same wavelength. I was thinking the same thing, which is you have all these MSK ultrasound devices and practitioners now saying, hey, I have insight. I can, Vestibular First has the ability to see in the dark and freeze time and allow you to stop and rewind time, right? MSK ultrasound lets you see through walls or body walls, in this position. What can you do with that superpower? Is the juice worth the squeeze? If you have the superpower and you know how to use it, how can you leverage that to help more people? I think it's there. I think the person who finds out how to do it the best first, most effectively with the least amount of friction wins.
Let me ask you real quick. Go ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
So really quick on the MSK diagnostic ultrasound, I'm glad Scott mentioned this. So we use the Butterfly IQ. There's a way with the app. It's so simple. The imaging or the Butterfly, the probe, the device plugs right into my iPhone. You can send an image and a video right from the app to other clinicians. You could send it to another therapist. You could send it to a colleague and say, hey, I'm seeing this. What do you see? Whatever.
Yeah.
And another thing is that there's a lot of physical therapists, and especially there's a lot of physicians on Instagram who share diagnostic ultrasound imaging, pictures and still images. They'll post almost like a case study. And in the comments section, other physicians chime in as to the diagnosis and what they see.
Oh, yeah. So, it's a brilliant social strategy.
Exactly. So I mentioned here in the private chat, you guys can't see it publicly, but I said, talking about Butterfly IQ, and maybe Vestibular First could do something like that, where you get a bunch of vestibular therapists that are trying the goggles on, or they bought the goggles, whatever. If they're able to do, I don't know if the device is able to do that, but if you're able to have still images or videos from the goggles,
100%,
you have those therapists tagging, you could do a challenge, you could do a giveaway, whatever, but posting these images on their own Instagram and Facebook or YouTube or wherever. And of course, with permission. With permission, or not. These are anonymous. These just be anonymous patients, or you do, therapists, whatever. And then you post on social media, and then they're tagging at Vestibular First, or your social media account or website.
Patrick and Helena are in France at the Baronet conference, which is like a big international conference with people who work with people with vestibular disorders right now. But I've been taking notes because they've been gone for a week or two, and I have the dry erase board full of all those things. And you touched on one of them. If you go to Vestibular First socials, they have a really good active social following. Helena puts up treatment ideas and discussions that vestibular therapists would want to have. She's got that covered. That is the lowest hanging fruit, and they do that, and they do it terribly well, right? What you don't see, and this is Helena, if you're watching, Patrick, if you're watching, I don't see nearly enough night vision videos. Like, you have the ability to see in the dark.
The actual product.
Night vision video every 24 hours of something. So that is the lowest hanging fruit. So that's going to be in our marketing meeting when you guys get back from the Baronet conference, which is, don't tell me that you're a night vision goggle set. You're not. You are the ability to see in the dark. That is what you sell. How you do it is a night vision camera in a goggle set. What you sell, what the value is. I can see in the dark easily, simply at the turn of a button. Absolutely. So we're going to see more night vision videos, Helena. That's what we're going to do.
I will say, though, as a non-vestibular therapist, those like night vision, people's nasty eyes, that grosses me out.
I know, but good. I don't want you. You are not my people. So like,
totally true.
This brings up the stupid business model of a woman who's now a millionaire, which is Dr. Pimple Popper. That is disgusting. And
for a lot of people.
Millions of people, and it is like eye candy, and it's like like just people watching the and it's popping. So it's like, dude, that's great. Like, but for vestibular therapists, that is eye candy, and they love. They can all see these things.
Unintended.
The Matrix, where Neo's looking at the ones and zeros on the screen and the green, and he just sees ones and zeros. Vestibular therapists, well, you and I, we look at it, it's just ones and zeros. Vestibular therapists see right through it and they can see the matrix. It all makes sense to them.
So another interesting question, and I'm sure they've explored all of these. We're geeking out on it. Since it's a diagnostic tool, okay, so I go in for an x-ray, right? There's an x-ray technician who does the x-ray, but then there's a radiologist who reads the x-ray and develops the report. Does it need to be a clinician? Not if it's cash pay. Does it need to be a clinician who actually has the goggles, who actually does the testing itself, not interprets the test or anything else, just is physically there with the person doing the test?
That's a good question. Helena's going to answer that. I'm going to say, my gut reaction as the PT who works in sales, but is never treated vestibular. I'm going to say it does, because there's a lot of nuance into when things come on. Because I went to clinic with Helena for an entire day and watched this. And that is the other option, right? I'll do a live stream where we put the goggles on and you can essentially see each eye individually, but you can also see what's going on in the room. So you could, while you're recording each eye, you're recording the clinician and the patient from across the room with the camera all in one shot. So when things happen, vestibular therapists chime in here to help me make sure I'm not an idiot. When things happen and when they come on is terribly important. So I'm going to say yes, that is part of the, I would say yes. My answer is that's part of the skill. Could you treat, are you saying, could you treat a PTA to do this as well? Is that what?
Heck no, I'm saying, can I get a great person with
like an X-ray tech?
Huh?
But an X-ray, a little bit of training,
Why can't I just get a human who's got great social skills, who's, looking for a job like this? There's a lot of people moving into non-medical companion care that are just doing phenomenal. Why can't I get somebody like that? If I was a vestibular therapist sitting here behind my computer, I could have 3 or 4 of these individuals out in the field and just book them on house calls. They go, I'm live. I'm there with them. I can tell them if they need to do something or change something or whatever.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah. So you can still have the therapist element there, but that individual would be trained by me, trained by Vestibular first, trained by somebody, but they're effectively the technician who's out in the house with the patient and the patient's family, boots on the ground, but I am the one here. And like I said, I could have 8 to 8:20 at that house, 8:20 to 8:40 at this house, 8:40 to 8 to 9 o'clock at the next house. And as I'm hitting the next one, that first person leaves to go to the 3rd or 4th visit. So
what you're really doing is night vision, see in the dark, the ability to freeze time. And now you have the ability to see miles away virtually. So essentially extending the vision of a therapist. I'm going to change my answer and say, maybe not. Right. And you also said something else, which is a vestibular first certification. And I know everybody and their mom is like, I do certifications and kind of courses. Before I took this job, I was trying to find a reason not to work for vestibular first. So I asked, again, not a vestibular expert, but I asked a bunch of people who I respect and knew personally, knew well enough to tell me the truth and not just what I wanted to hear. Couldn't find a person to say a bad thing about not just the company, because that's inanimate, Patrick and Helena. So people trust her and Patrick because they do the right thing. So I don't know this, because that answers a lot of the different questions, which is how is this going to make me money, which is something therapists with Peace Corps disease or the Peace Corps gene, you'll hear in an upcoming episode. I think that was Scott Dickinson with Next Level. PT's just got this Peace Corps gene, man. We want to do everything. And we've talked about just last week where if you can get some of that, if this is an emotional thing, right? This is an emotional thing. The emotion sometimes blocks the logic. So I'm going to change my answer to maybe. And that is an idea I didn't think of.
So now what happens is that turns a single clinician, owner operator, small provider into somebody who's going to buy 4 devices instead of 1.
Because now they're maths.
Yeah.
Even better. The maths faster. I do want to mention they do create educational models. And I see how many people are buying these things. This is a need that they are fulfilling that was not fulfilled previously. We're talking about like
I have headpiece thing.
Yeah, like the headbands. You saw that picture, because that is the alternative was like we did it in PT school with like pipe cleaners. You like made it pipe cleaners. You did this. This has like actual like fluid in it to show you the speed of the crystals and things like that. So for vestibular therapists, it's a little bit teaching the teacher, but it's a lot teaching the patient. So it's a really great model to have in clinic to show like, why am I having you hold your head for 45 seconds or a minute and a half? Why is it taking so long? So